Welcome to Lunch with Tech Leaders, where we have engaging conversations about software development and cloud engineering with industry leaders and subject matter experts. These episodes are created by the Great Lakes Tech Leaders, an online community of technology practitioners. Please come join the conversation by visiting gltl.rbn.ai. Again, that's gltl.rbn.ai. Now strap in, because we're deploying to production in 3, 2, 1.
Our topic today is AWS CloudWatch dashboards and custom metrics. So I've definitely been using them quite a bit as of recent. The more that we end up putting data into CloudWatch logs, the more I'm relying on having dashboards set up to kind of get a single pane of glass view of an application or an environment stack. The dashboards are really easy. Well, they're a little bit interesting, right? Because they're configured by a JSON document. And you can kind of define any of the metrics, widgets, all of that through this JSON document. And the cool part about it is you can actually get that into your infrastructure as code and templatize the metrics or CloudWatch log groups that you're targeting, and get those set up between environments as you kind of deploy through different environments. You can have a dashboard pre-built to give you kind of a baseline. I think that's been really helpful for our team, and really enjoyed being able to have that baseline set up and ready right out the gate. So kind of get anybody else's hot take here.
Well, I'd have to say that I haven't really come across much in CloudWatch dashboards yet. I mean, I obviously use logs heavily for many of our customers that we have, and one of our big customers kind of surprised they may not be utilizing dashboards as much as especially if so. For me, for a dashboard, what I would love to see, and I don't know if it necessarily works this way, I purposely didn't really look up what dashboards can and cannot do so I could be ready with questions if possible. But so one of the things that I would love to see in a CloudWatch is, for example, one of the customers I'm currently working on, they have, say, hundreds of Lambdas and several different applications, and some of those applications even within inside of an application. So it'd be nice to be able to do like by category, so to speak, like, all right, this is my application, and if I click on this, then I could see all the associated logs within that application, and then be able to see if there's an error, like when I'm example for debugging an application right now, just pretty much there's a 500 error. Okay. And so either I know, or I work with one of the developers that know the path, kind of where that should take. Okay, it should hit this API. Okay, I go to that API, go to the endpoint, and then Lambda, then logs. But it would be nice to be able just to have a dashboard for this application and be able to scroll down and go, oh, here's a 500 error or an error in this log. And it was just recently where we tested, and be able to go directly to that log. Is that kind of in a way on how that works, or am I off basis on there?
So when the CloudWatch logs are in log groups, right? And you can build, and you can use CloudWatch Insights to do SQL queries against those logs.
Yeah.
Or like SQL query-esque type deal to
yeah.
yeah, to query against them. So what that does is it provides a table of log entries. That can become a widget on a dashboard, so you can get a quick view. One thing I definitely like to do is set up like a query for errors, so that I've got a quick view of anything that might be erroring out on an application. Obviously, I would like to open up a dashboard and see that be completely empty. However, if there's issues going on, it's a really quick way to get right to the point and get a view of what may be wrong.
Yeah.
Furthermore, if you one thing I recommend to all of our customers and anything that I'm working on, if I've built an application, I definitely like to set up a logger that logs in JSON format, so that things like error level, etc., are attributes. And then with CloudWatch Insights or CloudWatch Log Insights, it parses those JSON logs and kind of makes that attribute a column in a table, so that you can like literally use like I said, like a SQL-esque type query, and just say like where level equals error, or whatever like level code that you've got in there, so that you've got nice clean, and then from there, select certain columns that you want to see in the widget. Makes it a little bit cleaner.
Nice. All right.
What do you got here,
So,
Thomas?
I guess
Hey, sorry, didn't mean to. I think you were going to follow up, William?
no, you're welcome to. My computer just started freezing, so go
Okay.
ahead and follow up
No,
on
it's
that.
just this all rings a lot of bells. My first thought was Charity Majors is. I posted one tranche of her blog there. She's really big on what she calls wide events. In other words, like just like you said, Derek, uh, JSON format, structured data, as much as you can cram in there, right? Just because it's no longer we're not sending stuff to a syslog or to a file system. And at least the story of my life has been with logging is like every time I figure out that I really needed some bit of information because it was critical, it was like, I wish I'd been logging that before this problem happened. And so that's one of her responses is under the rubric of observability, buzzword maybe, is to start treating logs more like observables, right? They're not just, log lines you can parse. There are a whole bunch of other things. And just like you said, Derek, if things are attributes or structured, right, they can be parsed and then made into what feels like a table, right? So you can do all kinds of fun stuff on them. I will say, if I can change topic, well, go ahead. I shouldn't change too fast, but.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, the reason I suggest JSON is because grokking a log line, and then the thing is developers should be able to add whatever they feel is relevant to that log
Absolutely.
line. But
Just keep
if you
bulking it
are
up.
not
Yeah.
using a JSON format, then every time that they add something, you now have to change your grok, and that's no fun. So
Right.
with JSON, it just automatically parses for us. So
Yeah, I lived through various nightmares with elk stacks, where grokking was magical when it worked. You wished it always worked. So yeah, I get you. I'm with you.
and you wish you
JSON
didn't
is
spend two
my
months
god.
writing that thing.
Yeah, so JSON is my god.
Mhm.
There's just so many tools for it. So I was going to say about using insights or metrics in the dashboard. These are things that you can only do inside AWS when you're heavy on the AWS tooling, and it's great that they have them. I've always found dashboards kind of fiddly, but I have to admit I haven't been using them very aggressively in the last year or so. So I think I should, maybe longer than that, to be honest. I should revisit, right? And
Yeah,
see
of course.
what's on offer now. I should. But I was going to say one of the things that we do a lot of, and maybe it's because it's a one of those first mover ideas, like you get into a habit. We use like instrumentation tools like Sentry to instrument our front end and back end of our web
Oh yeah.
applications because they have, that's a developer experience. And no disrespect to the AWS console, but um,
No. Yeah.
but does anybody here use anything like Sentry or have any thoughts on bringing in something, out of the toolkit? Um, pros, cons?
There's throughout the explosion of DevOps, right? I mean, so many different companies
Right.
created these telemetry tools, and it was just such a large focus. I mean, I've used almost.
Datadog was the first one I sort of got into, and then Sentry took over my life, probably because I had a very influential project and they used it, and it just, it sticks with you. You're like, when you have to reach for a tool, you reach for the one you used before. So
Right.
the,
Yeah,
you
I don't
mentioned the
think I've
market's
used
broad, and I don't
Sentry.
know. Yeah,
I've set it up, but I haven't really been on the consuming end of it.
yeah,
Datadog, I know, as far as dashboards go, I noticed that they've been pre-building dashboards. Like if you hook up AWS, um,
yeah.
it'll be like, oh, here's a dashboard for your networking. Here's a dashboard for your RDS and like
Hmm.
information, so that you don't have to go and build these complex dashboards. They say, okay, I know what you want because we've been doing this for years, and this is basically what most people are asking for out of a dashboard in this context. And I thought that was a really neat idea.
Yeah, I think there was a big shift in Datadog when they, Um, I remember I was at a conference at one of their little booths once, and they were explaining their new model that wasn't sort of like, CPU based, or host based licensing.
Oh yeah.
This was years ago, right? But they were adapting to like, well, how the hell do you, run Datadog with their old pricing model against anything in AWS? God forbid it's serverless. So they simplified a lot of things, made some changes so that you can kind of forecast what it's. I mean, that was a really good change. And
Yeah.
I now I realize as I brought this up, Sentry and Datadog aren't even really comparable, right? Sentry is much more a real-time developer observability tool, right? So it's not
Right.
really looking at the infrastructure so much as like the effects, like what's happening to my customers right now. And has it happened 3 times this morning, 30 times this morning? Did it
Mhm.
happen in version, 6.2.4 and now it's back in version 8.1.7, that kind of stuff. But I
Yeah,
do recommend Sentry if you haven't played with it. Mess with it. It's got a respectable free tier.
okay.
Um, but you can turn on like an extra level. It's sort of like X-ray, right? A sampling level of sending like more events,
Right.
and that will exhaust, your free tier like 10 days into the month, right? So
Right.
don't do that. Or do, right? Especially if
Well,
you're
I
like
mean, you
doing
gotta
it in
try
your
it
dev
out.
and test. If you're doing your dev and test environments, you might be able to use it in full, right? But if you got prod stuff, the extra level of event density sampling is probably not your thing.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at with your product, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the second fold to that, right? Like the uh, tracking or observability of like this front end, this log from a front end produced this log on the back end with like
Hmm. Hmm.
tracing and like what's that? It's like open trace or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
I know. Yeah, this is out of my wheelhouse, but yes, I think I see what you mean. Yeah, sort of stitching it all together.
right, so that you can
That's
say,
key. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's definitely oh, what is it? This is something I was looking into quite a while ago when we were um before a lot of this stuff kind of came about, is like generating a random ID per request and sending that across throughout all of the different,
End to end, right? So
yeah,
you can kind of
end-to-end traceability. It's
attribute things and related things, right? And not rely on like, I don't know, clock syncs, and You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
if
even good luck if you
if
get
you're under
more than
any
one
remote
user.
load, right, that's gonna not help you at all, right? You're gonna be under a blur of things slightly overlap. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I like turning on X-ray from time to time to do some sampling. I'll even in dev mode, like I'll turn on X-ray for API Gateway and Lambda with like
mhm,
100% sampling just to make sure I fully understand what's happening, during like, like a baby load test. And of course, like it doesn't go in prod unless we have a problem, right? And then you do something reduced. But X-ray does that. They have a word for it, like the co coterminus ID or the correlation ID. That's it,
correlation.
correlation ID. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been trying to
yeah.
think of that.
X-ray is fantastic, but in my experience, coming from more of the operations realm,
Hmm.
if your application doesn't fit into the auto instrumentation, uh,
Yeah,
getting those instrumented
fair.
is definitely a task. I've tried to take an application that I did not write and try to instrument it, and
Fair.
it was not a good experience for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I'm
you
sure
know,
the
you
same
did,
thing could be said for Sentry. I mean, I've had good luck with it. The
Mhm.
integrations for the frameworks and tools I was using worked mainly, right? It depended. Some of the Java integrations were, well, Java-esque, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like weirdly fiddly, but yeah, it is true. Sometimes you just end up fighting the tool or it just doesn't grok what you're doing, you know?
yep. I
Yeah.
will say that the custom metrics that come out of things like instrumentation of like for an APM are extremely interesting, right? So you can start, taking a look at or rather like really what you want to get down to is your KPIs, right? Your key performance indicators.
Hmm.
Um, like if your logins are a key performance, like you want to make sure that take a look, having metrics built off of the timing samples of the things that happen within your login or something like that, like whatever that may be for you or your application. Um, you know, and making those big and visible is kind of like, getting back to the dashboard idea, you know, uh, really interesting and really helpful. So you can start to, have early warning signs of like, okay, why is one of my KPIs kind of, bumping up here?
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
always used to talk about, but having like a big dashboard on a TV screen inside the office running up a pie or something like that. The nature of our business is hard to kind of make that work because we're always, you know, multiple projects going on. Everybody's
Hmm.
kind of running their own. So having that third monitor,
Yeah.
is kind of nice because everybody's kind of in on their own project and stuff like that instead of having one monitor. But
Yeah. Our high performance computing guys um, have that like big dashboard on the wall. You know what I mean? Like
oh yeah,
giant dashboard that's like, hanging over the whole office, right? Basically so that everybody's aware of like system health.
hmm
It's cool, but the only thing is the cluster is so massive, and there's so much, you know, redundant and swappable CPUs and storage and things like GPUs and stuff. Like the board is like always like in some weird state of semi-red, right? But it
yeah.
it doesn't matter, right? That's just normal, right? Um, so I don't know of how useful they find it, but it definitely looks cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
they never get to green. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's always something.
That's another thing I was thinking about is like I've definitely built dashboards that are overcomplicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like one graph will have like 20 lines on it, and being colorblind, I can't differentiate what's what. And
Oh
so I don't know,
yeah, good point.
so the aggregating those into sums and averages and min max mo uh, min max average, etc., is
Hmm.
helpful, but sometimes you want to see the difference. But it's just, that's one of my things is I got to go and click through each one of the different metrics to see, okay, is it that one? No, it's that other light green one. Oh, it's actually yellow. There it is. Is that yellow? No.
No, I feel that. I really do.
But
You were
yeah, we're
talking
making it
earlier
more
about how
comfortable
it's
too.
so automatable, like that you can turn this into infrastructure as code if you
Yep.
define, a core dashboard, right? That maybe you'll
Hmm.
tweak. That is also obviously cool.
Yeah.
Um, I work in a place where like our system side of the house, like if it's not Ansible, they don't want to hear about it, right? So, which is fine, right? Ansible is a very cool tool, right? But so at different times I've tried to like evangelize on the different the parade of offerings that that AWS has put out related to sort of like managed infrastructure. Going all the way back to well, the early days of CloudFormation templates and OpsWorks and things like that, and they've always
Mhm.
been very dissatisfied with them. But now, I'm leading up to something. When you do infrastructure as code, are you like a CDK person? Are you a like a
Yep.
Terraform person? What is the thing that people do? Because it feels like once again, AWS has like 7 options, like SAM CLI, Copilot, CDK, right? Tell me, tell me what to
Amplify
do, Derek.
CLI. Yeah, keep going. Yeah. No, yeah, we are absolutely CDK chef at this point. I mean, we'll do whatever the client is most
Yeah, well,
prefers, but if
mhm.
it's, you know, out of the box, like we're going to recommend CDK. We, you know, did our rounds. We did CDK in Python, then we did CDK in .NET, and then, we ended up saying, no, we need to do this in TypeScript. Even though a lot of our engineers are, more so newer to TypeScript. And
Yeah,
the reason for
same.
that is because you can use the debugger. Um, and that has been immensely powerful for us. Uh, the JSSI layer that transforms a this TypeScript into the ability to be used in different languages, it doesn't translate, like the debugger won't translate through, like, or isn't able to kind of trace through that.
Okay.
So using the raw TypeScript has been what we kind of settled on as our default. But obviously we'll do whatever the
I'm
customer is more comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to I don't know, yield at some point. I've been sort of JavaScript on the back end resistant. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm a Pythonist mainly who
Mhm.
recovered from like an enterprise Java life. You know what I mean. But
Yeah.
and Python's been very good to me, and I really love it. But yeah, I'm starting to finally, at this age, right, see the wisdom of like strongly typed, you know, um, languages and the tooling that goes with them. So I might have to bite the bullet and try and be a, a credible or at least a passable TypeScript person. I think, yeah, I
Yeah.
think the writing's on the wall. It's pretty clear. Python's not going away, right? But
No.
I see a lot of the cool kids, if you will, like yourself. I see a lot of the, if you look around, like TypeScript's where people's heads are at. And yeah.
Oh, I've thanks for the nod there, but I've been transitioning to being more of a, Jira card writer.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
But
There's that too.
I have been trying to pick up, Node, and I can get around in TypeScript. I can definitely do the work for CDK because
Mhm.
it's very much so. I know I know what needs to be done because it's like, infrastructure, it's, building imperative code to export declarative,
Yeah.
CloudFormation. I know CloudFormation enough to be able to understand what's going on. The CDK tree stuff, I understand all that. So I can get around, but like
Hmm.
the asynchronous stuff in Node, it's like my mind just has a complete block against it. I've been
No,
trying to learn it for the
I don't
last
think
couple of years.
I don't think that way. I know people who do. And
Yeah.
yeah, it does seem to be like some sort of gift. Um, yeah, I'm still banging my head on it. Mm, sort of like just, yeah, no, randomly awaiting, hoping something will happen, I mean, uh, yeah, no, I feel you. Oh, and this makes sense, right? TypeScript for this purpose, right, is very like, uh, for lack of a better word, linear, like you said, imperative and declarative, really. You get a result. Boom.
Mhm. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
you know, I think they said TypeScript just overtook JavaScript on GitHub or something like that. I saw.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
I think, the
Meanwhile, I'm
TypeScript
still
seems,
barely using type hinting in Python, right? And it would help me so much if I would just do it, right?
yeah, it's like you said, it's one of those bite the bullet things. And like, I personally, I really enjoy just being like, oh, just treat the variable as whatever it is. But, in the long
Yeah.
term, it's like,
I've had a
yeah,
very happy
maybe.
life with, duck typing, right?
Mhm. The when you're building something that somebody else is going to consume,
Yeah. Fair go, right?
yeah,
I've certainly, had come into like large Python projects, yeah, and I know the feeling of being like, yeah, you really have to go all the way through and be like, how do I know what this is going to be? And I mean, yeah, and the answer is you don't, but you have to keep it in your head because the system is not going to help you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was helping somebody in there, like, what am I supposed to provide to this uh, parameter on this method inside of a Python library? And I'm like, I think it'll be okay to take a dict, but if it's not, then pass it a JSON string. And the answer was it accepts both. So
Would have been
yeah.
nice if somebody had written that down, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely undocumented. It just said, thing.
Put in some sort of objecty thing, represented in some fashion, right? Yeah. Um, I know I took us off of CloudWatch metrics and dashboards, but I was
Oh
interested in this infra as code because it's not like I'm alone. There's a lot of people using AWS at the university, and particularly I'm at the College of Engineering.
yeah,
But, it's very scattered, right? There aren't big clusters of people together, right? So
right.
so
Yeah,
it's always
when
good to knock stuff around with people.
you're what I've noticed, I didn't go through a large university, but what I have noticed in working with them is that especially research type folks, they're just all over the place.
Yeah.
They can't wait for large scale university IT to kind of help them out. They have to go and figure it out on themselves,
Mhm.
and you know move things along.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's okay. These topics, they're here to kind of give us a jumping off point, and the whole idea is just to have lunch with lunch with like-minded people and kick around some ideas, and you know I
I'm
think it's
pretty
really
sure
cool.
you gave a whole talk on CDK work, like last month or the month before. Someone did, right? At one of the
Good.
first
Yep.
come back to in-person meetings over in IBSE.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that was one I really, really wanted to go to. Not the least because, I mean, you're cool too, but I wanted to go to Go Ice Cream, like real bad.
There
It's
you
been
go.
too long. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I knew in the back of my head that CDK had mindshare over at Right Brain, but
Yeah, I
um,
think that we've been working with it for 2.5, 3 years, something like that.
wow, I didn't even know it had been a thing that long.
Yeah.
Do you have any brief judgments you'd like to pass on like the SAM CLI or um,
Mm,
Copilot or other things that AWS is offering?
Copilot's a GitHub thing, isn't it?
Well, no, there's Copilot at GitHub, but there's something else.
Code
Um,
Guru.
maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Code Guru is kind of cool. It's actually made recommendations about a Python CDK repository that we had before, and I thought that was pretty nifty. It's more of a static code analysis. It's
Yeah.
less Copilot and more of a like Sonar Cube or something like that.
This is what I was thinking of. I put it in the chat. It's AWS's Copilot. It's yet another way to run containers at AWS, right?
Oh,
Like
interesting.
the canonical 17 ways uh,
Uh,
to run a container. Um,
oh boy, it'd be great if they
so
would have
so it's
not picked
Copilot.
that
It's a
name.
CLI, right? It's yet ECS CLI, Copilot CLI. It's lots of options. And AWS is good about giving you options, but that cuts both ways, right? And you don't know what's going to be languishing, right? Maybe
I think these things are
poorly
great
maintained.
for getting people off the ground into AWS, getting their ideas moving. I think eventually one day,
Gotta graduate.
you know, when you say, okay, this needs to become less of a, you know, same thing with Sam. I think Sam's great to kind of get a prototype up and out there. But when you take that prototype from, hey, we're, you know,
From a toy
this is an idea, a twinkle in my eye, and it's to we're scaling from a into a medium-sized business. You're probably going to want to get more hands-on control around some of these things, but maybe not. Maybe it works for the team. It depends on the size. And go to something that's more rigid, like CDK, Terraform, you know, etc. But that's just my hot take. I mean,
I worry that I might have pushed this over time. Is there a time limit on this? Were we supposed to break at half hour?
yeah, I think we're
Okay.
looking at wrapping up. I think we didn't get started till 27, so we're right at about half hour. No time limit on podcasts.
Thanks for letting me come in late and go long. Yeah.
No problem, Thomas. I'm really glad to, you know, have you join. You know, always welcome. We're doing these every week.
Yeah, well, thank you all. I will keep them. I appreciate Hannah and others keeping me informed. So yeah, I will try and join in when I can. My work life has been a bit of a blur, right? It's but I think it might be, you know, things might be a little better. So I really enjoyed having a little time to make a connection again. So maybe
Yeah.
one day I'll see you guys in person.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Like I said, I think it's next week. We've got Thursday the meetup. No pressure, but it's going to be a good one.
What's the location on that one? Are you
Right downtown Ipsy at back
okay?
office
Same
studios.
place. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited because I do want to get over to Ipsy again, right? For tacos
Yeah,
and
we're expecting this one to be probably the largest one since we've been back, because we've really just got a great topic. Hannah, Joe, can one of you guys chime in on what the topic and speaker was? Will we? Maybe they.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, next week we're looking at it's Nudge and Sludge driving security with design with Jay Wolfgang. So it'll be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, same deal as always. Doors open at 6 and networking until 6:30. We start the talk then, and then you know, usually goes till 7:30. You're no stranger to it. We'd just love to see you in person again.
Well, I will do my best. Thanks for this opportunity. Yeah.
All right.
No problem.
Take care, folks. Thanks for joining.
Take care, everybody.